In just 47 seconds, $340 billion worth of leverage evaporated. Ursula von der Leyen didn't expect the call from Washington. She received a document marked Urgent, Eyes Only at 14:23 Brussels time. The cameras captured everything that followed. The European Commission building went silent. What did Washington reveal that made the most powerful woman in Europe visibly retreat from her own podium? The morning began routinely in the Berlaymont building. Von der Leyen entered at 9:15, black folder in hand, ready to present the quarterly defense report. The atmosphere was bureaucratic, almost boring. Nobody anticipated that within 5 hours, the entire EU power structure would shift. At exactly 14:23, her chief of staff approached the podium with an expression colleagues described as funeral pale. He carried a single sheet, no official seal, no EU letterhead, just white paper with black text. Von der Leyen glanced at it, her jaw tightening imperceptibly. Her hands became motionless on the podium. The document was brief, 3 paragraphs, 47 words that would redefine transatlantic relations. Sources later leaked fragments. European defense contributions insufficient. NATO burden-sharing deadline 72 hours. Failure to comply triggers immediate economic response. This is not negotiation. This is notification. Washington hadn't just sent a diplomatic note. They had delivered an ultimatum wrapped in the language of partnership, but everyone understood the real meaning. The era of European freeloading was ending. Von der Leyen's response revealed everything. Instead of her usual confident tone, she spoke in measured phrases. "The Commission acknowledges receipt of communication from our American partners," she said, her voice notably quieter. "We remain committed to our mutual defense obligations." But her eyes darted between commissioners, seeking support that wasn't materializing. The leaked audio captures something extraordinary, institutional confidence cracking in real time. Commissioner Thierry Breton whispered to his aide, "How much do we actually owe them?" The question hung like an accusation. The mathematics were brutal. While the U.S. spent $877 billion on defense in 2023, the entire EU managed only $240 billion. For years, this disparity had been politely ignored. Washington had subsidized European security, while European taxpayers enjoyed lower defense budgets and higher social spending. The arrangement worked until Trump returned with a different philosophy about friendship. Von der Leyen knew the numbers. Every commissioner knew them. For decades, European leaders had promised to reach NATO's 2% GDP target. For decades, most had fallen short. Germany lingered at 1.5%. France managed 1.9%. Only Eastern European nations, terrified by proximity to Russia, actually met their obligations. Washington's message didn't just demand compliance, it included detailed accounting of American subsidies to European security since 2008. The total, $340 billion in defense expenditure that should have been European responsibility. Every delayed fighter jet purchase, every reduced deployment, every canceled exercise that American forces had covered was itemized with Treasury precision. Commissioner Joseph Borrell attempted damage control, arguing European contributions to Ukraine exceeded American aid. Von der Leyen silenced him with a glance. She had seen the Washington math. European aid to Ukraine was $113 billion. American military aid alone exceeded $120 billion, excluding intelligence, logistics, and training support. The room's atmosphere shifted when von der Leyen acknowledged the elephant European politicians had spent years ignoring. "Our American colleagues," she said, each word chosen carefully, "have legitimate concerns about burden sharing." The phrase was diplomatic code for, "We're completely screwed." The 72-hour deadline wasn't arbitrary. Washington had timed it perfectly. The Commission was scheduled to vote on the 2025-2027 budget framework in exactly 3 days. Every commissioner understood the threat: increase defense spending dramatically or watch American economic retaliation destroy European recovery. Von der Leyen's political instincts kicked in. She couldn't publicly surrender to American pressure, but she couldn't ignore European dependence either. The Commission will review our strategic priorities, she announced, to ensure alignment with contemporary security challenges. Bureaucratic language, but everyone understood. Europe was about to militarize its budget. The leaked discussions reveal panic spreading through European capitals. Chancellor Scholz called von der Leyen directly, demanding clarification. "How serious is Washington?" he asked. Her response was captured. "Deadly serious. They have the numbers, leverage, and a president who doesn't care about diplomatic niceties." French President Macron's reaction was more dramatic. According to Élysée sources, he threw his pen when briefed on the ultimatum. "Strategic autonomy is impossible when we're strategically dependent," he shouted. The irony wasn't lost. Europe's loudest advocate for independence was also Europe's most reluctant defense spender. The financial markets reacted instantly. Defense contractor stocks in Europe surged 15% within hours. Rheinmetall, BAE Systems, and Leonardo saw billions added to their market capitalizations as investors bet on a European military spending boom. The euro, however, trembled against the dollar as currency traders calculated the fiscal impact. Von der Leyen found herself in an impossible position. European taxpayers had grown accustomed to American security guarantees that allowed generous social programs instead of serious militaries. Asking German or Italian voters to sacrifice healthcare funding for fighter jets was political suicide. But ignoring Washington's ultimatum meant economic retaliation that could trigger recession. The Commission president's body language told the story. Her typically perfect posture sagged slightly. Her hands remained clasped behind her back. When asked about the American communication, she responded with 4 seconds of silence that felt eternal. "The United States remains our most valued partner," she finally said. "And partnerships require mutual understanding of responsibilities." The phrase meant, "We surrender," without saying, "We surrender." The leaked Washington document contained more than financial demands. It included specific military requirements that revealed how thoroughly American intelligence had penetrated European defense planning. The U.S. knew which European capabilities were fictional, which commitments were empty promises, and which allies were genuine freeloaders. The ultimatum demanded immediate increases in ammunition production, realistic troop readiness, and genuine military exercises. Most damaging was Washington's requirement for transparent defense accounting that would expose exactly how little European governments spent on functional military capabilities. Von der Leyen's closest advisors recognized this moment represented more than a budget dispute. It was the end of the post-Cold War arrangement that had allowed Europe to prosper under American protection while criticizing American power. The continent that had lectured Washington about multilateralism was being forced to acknowledge complete dependence on American unilateralism. The Commission president's final statement revealed her understanding of the new reality. "Europe must take responsibility for European security," she declared, her voice steadier but lacking usual confidence. "We will present comprehensive defense proposals within the constitutional time frame." Translation: "We will do whatever Washington demands within 72 hours. The European Parliament's reaction was swift. Left-wing MPs denounced American economic blackmail while demanding continued social spending. Right-wing populists celebrated the exposure of European hypocrisy while calling for NATO withdrawal. Centrist parties began quietly calculating the domestic political cost of massive defense increases. Von der Leyen left the chamber at 17:45, her usual entourage notably absent. She walked alone through corridors that had once symbolized European power. The cameras captured her solitary figure, and social media exploded. Von der Leyen trended across Europe as citizens debated whether their leaders had been humiliated or finally forced to face reality. The 72-hour countdown became European television's obsession. News channels displayed digital clocks marking time until Washington's deadline. Political talk shows featured heated debates between sovereignty advocates and alliance realists. Opinion polls showed European public opinion split between resentment at American pressure and acknowledgement of American accuracy. Von der Leyen spent the following morning with ECB President Christine Lagarde, calculating the fiscal impact of sudden defense spending increases. The mathematics were sobering. Meeting NATO's 2% target immediately would require cutting social programs or increasing taxes at levels that could trigger political upheaval. The Commission president faced a choice that defined her legacy: resist American pressure and trigger economic retaliation, or surrender European fiscal sovereignty to American security demands. Either path led to political humiliation, but only one preserved European prosperity. Her decision, announced exactly 71 hours after receiving Washington's message, revealed everything about contemporary geopolitics. The Commission proposes emergency defense budget reallocations, she declared, to meet our alliance obligations and ensure European security. The carefully neutral language couldn't disguise the truth. America had spoken, and Europe had listened. The broader implications extended beyond budget numbers. Washington's ultimatum exposed the fundamental fiction underlying European independence rhetoric. For all the talk of strategic autonomy, Europe remained dependent on American power for basic security. When Washington demanded payment, Europe discovered it had no choice but to pay. Von der Leyen's survival required packaging surrender as statesmanship, dependency as partnership. Her final statement demonstrated masterful diplomatic doublespeak. Transatlantic solidarity requires shared sacrifice, and Europe is prepared to assume its full responsibilities within our historic alliance. The message from Washington achieved its objective. European defense spending would increase dramatically, American taxpayers would see reduced security subsidies, and the fiction of European strategic independence would be exposed. Von der Leyen, backed into a corner by superior American leverage, had no choice but to present capitulation as cooperation. The European dream of power without responsibility had ended. In its place emerged a harsher reality where friendship required payment, security demanded sacrifice, and independence was only possible for those strong enough to defend it. Von der Leyen learned what countless leaders before her had discovered. When Washington speaks with clarity, the only rational response is to listen and comply quickly. The cameras captured her final exit from that historic session, walking alone through the corridors of European power, carrying the weight of a continent's diminished dreams and America's successful ultimatum.